Good morning, everybody. I'm Bethany Sawhill, owner of Phoenix Family Birth, and I'm joined here today with Beth Griffith. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Beth Griffith, and what I do is I help moms in business to build million-dollar brands that will get them to their goals. So I have known Bethany for a couple of years, and I am really excited for her to share this amazing content with you guys. So.
Thank you. So this was actually, today's live was quite inspired by Beth. She's constantly challenging me on the language that I use and making sure that the words that I choose to use and the way that I choose to use them will help me to be a powerful communicator and also help to change the internal dialogue going on in my brain so that I start to believe how powerful I am, and I'm able to use that to help the people and influence everyone around me. Hey, Crystal, good morning. How are you? You know that.
Very intimate. Crystal caught my baby.
So the first hack is really simple. These are actually all really simple. It's just a matter of being consistent with them and having somebody to hold you accountable and call you out on them. So the first one is to take the word try out of your vocabulary. Do you want to talk a little bit about why?
I would love to talk about why. Okay, so the word try is a super weak word. It's a super wimpy word. It's a word that communicates to our brain, okay, I'm going to do this, but I don't really believe that I'm going to be able to be successful at it. By taking this word out of my vocabulary, I've been able to more than double my best sales record in business. My husband and I have completely changed our lives, completely changed our income, and it's because of beginning with taking the word try out of our vocabulary. Our subconscious, it doesn't believe us when we're saying the word try, and we're going to show you why. But I just want to show you real quick that you never, ever, ever have to use the word try. So there's always a replacement word that you can use. For example, when it comes to, let's say that your friend made a delicious dinner and you want to have some of that dinner. You don't need to say, oh yeah, I will try some. You say, I'm gonna have a bite. If you are thinking about getting pregnant, you do not need to say, I am trying to conceive. I am working on getting pregnant. If you go to the store and you want to go see how a dress fits, you don't go to the dressing room and try it on. You go to the dressing room and you put it on. And so there is absolutely zero instance where you have to use that word. And if you can start removing it from your vocabulary in those situations and areas, you're going to start to see that you're going to get rid of it in the areas where it really impacts what you are doing. So we're going to show you a cool little trick, and I want to challenge you to do this with someone.
Not to try it with somebody, do it with somebody.
Do it. And go do it with somebody and see that we're not crazy and we're not acting and we're not making this up. Okay? So I'm going to stand up here. Do you want to? Okay.
All
right, perfect. So Bethany is going to start by saying, I will resist, I will resist, I will resist, while I push down on her arm. And she's resisting against me pushing down by holding her arm strong. So go ahead.
I will resist, I will resist, I will resist, I will resist, I will resist.
Okay, she did great. Now she is going to say, I will try to resist, I will try to resist, I will try to resist.
All right. I will try to resist, I will try to resist, I will try to resist. I am trying really hard to resist.
I have noodle arms. I'm not very strong, guys.
And she's only using the 2 fingers.
Yeah, 2 fingers. I'm not pushing any harder than I was before. So we're going to show you just one more time. I will resist, just so you can see that it really does work.
I will resist, I will resist, I will resist, I will resist.
So if you are saying the word try in these other areas of your life, if you're saying the word try and you are thinking that it's not impacting how, if it's you are working on getting your baby to sleep in longer stretches, we're trying to get her to sleep in longer stretches. How is that going to work? If you are trying to make it so that you are having an easier time nurturing your baby, that is going to bleed through, and it's going to show up in the littlest ways, in the ways you hold your muscles and the tension that you hold, and it's going to create an impact on the experience that you and your baby are having together.
Thank you so much for sharing all.
You're
I really
welcome.
appreciate it. So that is tip number 1, take try completely out of your vocabulary. Tip number 2, I learned this one from a mentor of mine, Katie Mail, and she has taught me to take the word but out of my vocabulary when it's not necessary. Now, sometimes you need a but. Sometimes it's an appropriate thing to throw into conversation, but oftentimes we're using but in place of and. So for example, I really think that what you're saying could work, but I disagree. Okay, so let's change that. I think what you're saying may work, and here's what I think about it as an alternative option. I'm trying to think of a way to put this into an example here. What do you have an idea? I can tell. Go for it.
I really love this but and thing because when you use the word but, it discounts what you said in the first part of your sentence. So I could say, hey, Bethany, you look really pretty today, but you have some spinach in your teeth. And suddenly I'm saying, oh, hey, you don't really look very pretty today. So just being very aware that when you say the word but, it discounts the entire first part of the sentence that you were using to soften what you were saying.
This is a big one with partners and kids too. A lot of times we say things like, I really love you, but your behavior is not what I expect. And our kids take that message and they hear, I don't really love you. Your behavior is not what I expect. So instead, you know what, honey, I really love you, and I need you to do X, Y, and Z instead. That and puts the two thoughts together instead of disjointing them or disconnecting them, okay? Hi, Dr. Dara, how are you? Good to see you this morning. Okay, so tip number 3, take just out. Try, gone, just gone. You don't need either one of them. As women, this is something that we do a lot. Hey, I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I'm just a working mom. My kiddos are just sleeping through the night at 1 year old. Take just out. Just doesn't need to happen. It's a limiting word. It takes what you're saying and it takes the power from it, and it minimizes the impact that you're trying to have. Oh, busted! It takes the impact out of what you are saying and the message that you're communicating. Okay? You might have thought.
No, that's actually a word I'm working on taking out of my vocabulary. So I completely agree with everything you said there, and even I have a ways to go.
But that's why we hold each other accountable, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we do.
We call each other out.
We do.
A lot.
The other thing is take out I'm sorry. If you truly are sorry for something, then a genuine apology is always the way to go. But oftentimes we use I'm sorry as a filler. I'm sorry that I'm sorry that I texted you back late. I'm sorry for the delay in getting here. Instead of I'm sorry, reframe that into thank you for your patience in this response. Thank you so much for understanding that mom life gets crazy and my kid puked all over her car seat. So change the I'm sorry into a thank you, and people will, they won't hold you to some of those kind of little mistakes that everybody makes. It's just part of being a mom. It's part of being a human, is that we're not always going to get it right. And so if we're thanking people for their patience, their flexibility, their understanding, that's going to get you a lot farther. Also, we say I'm sorry when we're not sorry. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I lost my example. It was right there in my brain.
She's not sorry that she forgot her example.
I am not sorry for that. But even things like, we reach in front of somebody at the grocery store. Instead of saying, excuse me, we say, oh, I'm sorry. You have every right to be in that grocery store aisle too. And if you are both happening to pick up the same loaf of bread, that's just life. So being cautious of how often you're apologizing can help make those times that you need to apologize much more powerful, because people aren't used to hearing I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry come out of you. So they're going to notice when you say I'm actually sorry for, and they're going to take that with a lot more sincerity.
Yeah. And the other thing is that if you're saying I'm sorry a lot, it emotionally drops you down to this I'm an inconvenience to the people around me level. Whereas if you're thanking them, it brings you up emotionally like, I am so grateful to you. And emotionally, that can make such an impact across the board and the way that you're going to be treating your kids and the way that you treat them on an ongoing basis, who they grow up to be. So it's a great practice to have.
Absolutely. And it's something that's kind of interesting when it comes to parenting too. We often tell our kids all the time, say you're sorry, say you're sorry. And sometimes our kids aren't sorry, especially when they're in that kind of toddler stage and they're learning boundaries and they're learning kind of social cues and getting along with other people. If they take a toy, we say, you need to say you're sorry. And we do things like sending them to timeout or taking things away from them, when really our kids aren't sorry that they took the toy, because that's what they wanted. And developmentally, it's appropriate for them not to be sorry for doing that. So kind of think about that in terms of your own kiddos. And instead of forcing them to say sorry in a situation where they may not be, offer something else. So we do still have to have, manners, and we have to be polite. So why don't you trade toys, or instead of forcing them to say sorry, say, can you make it better with a hug or a high five or another option? So finding a way to get that message across of manners without forcing an apology, because that's how we have learned it, is we were taught the appropriate times to say sorry, and we were taught inappropriate times that we are saying sorry as well. So
love that.
Thank you. So that's what we have for you today. 4 easy tips. Be cognizant of them. Ask somebody to hold you accountable. If I see you in my group, Pregnant Professionals and Working Moms of Phoenix, and I see words like just try or I'm sorry when you don't need to be, I'm going to call you out on them. And have a mentor, have somebody to step up and help you practice these things, because it's not an easy habit to break. Okay. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Have a great Wednesday, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.